meet you for lunch.
Star Wars Outlaws takes Scoundrel Kay Vess on a planet-hopping adventure as she goes in search of one big heist that will get her out of the trouble she finds herself in. Set between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, the Imperial forces are at the peak of their powers and will naturally serve as an enemy faction. But more integral to the Outlaws experience are the crime syndicates that Kay will encounter and the scum and villainy that comes with them. Dotted throughout the galaxy, each has its own story to tell and, more importantly, can be used to Kay's benefit when you see fit, thanks to Outlaws' reputation system.
Across all of them, there's fierce rivalries that Kay is going to have to navigate, and the player is going to have to engage with the reputation system in order to get what she wants.
You're not friends, you're not employed, you're not pledging allegiance. You're someone surviving and trying to grow a name, reputation in this world, and think of them as a little bit of means to an end. What do they have to offer and what do I need and want right now?
We've delved deeper into the gameplay impact of the reputation system and how you can manipulate the syndicates earlier in this month's Star Wars Outlaws IGN First. But who are these syndicates? We talked to members of the development team at Massive Entertainment to learn about the visual design of each and their place in the world of Star Wars Outlaws.
Let's jump!
Perhaps the most well-known of the Star Wars criminal syndicates, the Hutts are led by everybody's favourite giant slugman, Jabba the Hutt. Flanked by Bib Fortuna, Salacious Crumb, and other hilariously named cronies, they first appeared in 1983's Return of the Jedi as the crime lords of Tatooine. Straightforward and not afraid to dispatch with anyone who plays games with them, they love galactic credits and the power they bring.
The idea with the Hutts is really what you see is what you get, right? They aren't afraid to use force, they take what they want, and they are just incredibly powerful.
Jabba the Hutt, very famous character in the Star Wars galaxy. And so the Hutt Syndicate is definitely inspired by that. So you will see Forcers and you will see characters that you know from the movies as well, Gamorrean guards for example. But their look is definitely Tatooine inspired. I think it's interesting to say that the Hutts have probably the most dirt and wear and tear on their clothing of all the syndicates. You will find them on different locations as well. All the syndicates, you know, they have power that goes beyond the planet where they're from.
The Pike Syndicate will be a recognisable name to anyone who watched the Book of Boba Fett or Star Wars The Clone Wars TV series, but don't expect them to look exactly how you remember.
They have a very distinctive look. They are Pikes, but they're different from the Pikes you've seen in different shows, for example, because it's a different group. So in their design, we really went into a different direction with color palette, so they have a lot more dark blues, but also we went really into more of a graphic design for them. So you will see the helmets they wear and the clothing they wear, they have different patterns, which will show which rank they are, or like which group they belong to. So they will be very distinctive in that sense as well. They're not as organized, I would say, as a military group, but they do have different units that have different weapons, for example, different skills, and you will see a distinction in that.
Through spice production and trading, the Pikes amassed a fortune from their homeworld of Obadiah. But by the time of Outlaws, the Syndicate finds itself spread out throughout the galaxy, including an operation on the freshly created moon of Tashara.
The Pike Syndicate is incredibly wealthy and powerful in this time period, and we sort of center around their underboss Gorak, who is very much in charge of Pike operations on the moon of Tashara. Tashara is under Imperial control, just like the rest of the galaxy. We get to see the corrupt side of that because the Pikes have worked out a deal with the Empire there where they get to do what they need to do and the Empire always gets its cut.
Fueled by an unrelenting desire to turn profits, no matter what moral lines may need to be crossed, the Pike's love of luxury and all things shiny is best demonstrated in the appearance of Gorak.
We really wanted him to look very much like the boss, so he's much bigger than the regular Pike characters that you will meet. He's definitely not the one who fights, he's the one who tells people what to do. He has also a lot of jewelry, he's very rich. We really wanted to tell a story. You definitely see Gorak is the leader.
Tell the governor the payments will not increase.
As more Star Wars stories are written, the more important Crimson Dawn's influence in the galaxy appears to grow. Led by Lady Qi'ra, Emilia Clarke's character from Solo: A Star Wars Story, Crimson Dawn is the Syndicate responsible for auctioning off Han Solo's frozen carbonite wall decoration in the comic books, a prize won by Jabba and the Hutts, who outbid the Pike Syndicate. A mysterious organisation operating in the shadows of power, many of Crimson Dawn's intentions remain shrouded when it comes to Outlaw's story.
This is a restricted area. You need to back away right now.
Fine, I hear you.
Narrative director Naveed Kavari gives us some hints, however, noting that the Syndicate is really focused on intelligence spreading and aligning a bit of the wider network of organised criminals.
Crimson Dawn, especially if you look at some of the wider media, is up to something very, very interesting that I'll leave to others to explore and dive into, but this period is very, very important in terms of the character Qi'ra.
The shadowy nature of the group is reflected in their visual design, allowing them to blend into any location they might find themselves in, but also place their stamp when they want to make their presence known.
You will be able to meet them in certain places, and it's not always necessarily a place that's entirely theirs. Maybe they took over some place, so we try to really show that layer of, okay, Crimson Dawn took over this place, now you can see certain elements of them on top of something that used to be something else. They're more fashionable, I would say, compared to the other syndicates, and we try to translate that as well in their clothing, but they're also very undercover in the shadows. You would not see them if they would stand somewhere in the corner and just observing things. So their clothing is very practical but very clean as well, cleaner than any of the other syndicates. Really just show that they have access to better materials, and it's maybe also part of their style.
The Ashiga Clan is a new syndicate created by Massive in collaboration with Lucasfilm, and can be found on the freezing planet of Kijimi, one of 5 playable planets and moons in Star Wars Outlaws and last seen in The Rise of Skywalker. Although brand new when it comes to Star Wars canon, those more knowledgeable about the galaxy far, far away might be familiar with the alien species they hail from.
They're completely new, but we did use an existing species called the Melito for the Ashika Clan, and there's many different aspects on them. First thing on the Melito is that they don't have vision, they don't have eyes, so they use different senses, and that was really interesting to design, like a whole syndicate that doesn't use eyesight. So all of their designs have a lot of tactile elements. They're based on Kijimi. In the areas they control, you can see these lines on the floor. That's sort of their way of navigating, feeling around almost where to go. Their style really connected to Kijimi City. We wanted to show that they've been there for a long time, so the city itself influenced their look as well. And as Kijimi City is heavily inspired by samurai movies and it has a lot of these Japanese influences, we use the same sources of inspiration for the Ashiga Clan as well, and you will see that in their silhouettes that have a lot of references to samurai armor or kimono type of clothing.
The insect-like nature of the Melito race not only provided some interesting visual challenges for the team, but also influenced how the syndicate is structured and what its goals include. Whereas others such as the Pikes, Hutts and Crimson Dawn value money, power and information as ways to grow their influence, the Ashiga Clan is much more focused on itself and its small pocket of the galaxy.
Our expansion has made us vulnerable, Mother.
It will make the hive stronger.
Ashiga Clan are really interesting because they follow this very strict hierarchical structure. They are made up of a insect-like species that every single member of the Ashiga Clan is serving the wider group under the control of Queen Ashiga, more than any other syndicate, where you might have some characters, some subordinates, you know, off to their own devices. In the Ashiga, they are serving the queen and that's it. And that gave a really fascinating dynamic.
They have a strict code of honor, they're very like a hive mind, and they have one very powerful queen who is in charge, so there's definitely references to that as well in the way they organize their locations, for example, which will remind a little bit more of an anthill. Ashiga Clan is really trying to keep the control over Kijimi, which is a very important city, and trying to really get their revenue through that. They're also a syndicate that you will maybe encounter less on different locations because they are so connected to the city. So it's really their power over the city is what gives them their meaning.
We have decided.
Sitting outside of the reputation system is the Zerich Bash, a mysterious syndicate that serves as Outlaw's primary antagonist. Where you'll be able to interact with the other 4 crime gangs and forge and break bonds of your choosing as the story progresses, the Zerich Bash serves more as a distant looming threat. They are run by Slero, a man who has placed a death mark on Kay at the beginning of her story, forcing her to go on the run.
It's an incredibly wealthy organization. They have their own plans and are more of a new player to the galaxy and to the Syndicates. We very much wanted to treat them like they're the new player on the block. So for Kay, she's really on the run from them and from Slero. So they are actively hunting her down. She's using the other Syndicates to kind of get what she needs to pull off a heist that's gonna secure her freedom from them.
A deadly group not to be messed with, the Zerich Bash needed an ominous appearance to match, something that Yonkers and the team have worked hard on.
I mean, they look very threatening. That's definitely one of the starting points for their design. So we really wanted an imposing silhouette. For them, we really looked at the silhouette as well. So they have very heavy silhouettes. You can see they're very heavy helmets. If you encounter them, you will be intimidated. You know, we wanted them to look intimidating. And they have big helmets not to get a bigger silhouette, but also it creates a bit of a distance between you and them. You don't know who's inside, you know. So that was really for us an important thing, that they would feel like, yeah, you need to get out of their way if you ever encounter them.
Much about Slero and his gang remains a mystery for now, with Massive reluctant to give away many more details about your encounters with them. We'll learn much more about them though, and why they're at the core of Kay's story when Star Wars Outlaws releases on August 30th. We'll have more exclusive looks at Star Wars Outlaws for you throughout July, and for everything else, stick with IGN.